Today I have for you the latest golf ball, volleyball, soccer ball, football from Nike, the Nike Flight Ball, what Nike claims to be the most high-tech football ever created. Now, full disclosure, I just got this ball yesterday, so aside from some juggling, I have yet to thoroughly test it out, but I plan on doing that over the next week or so, and I will follow up with you guys on more of a performance-oriented review. With that said, this is one of the most hyped up match ball releases since the 2010 Adidas Jabulani, and so many people have questions about what Nike has done, because they are claiming this is the most high-tech football ever made, and visually, it's extremely distinctive. So what I want to do in this video is do a tech overview, because I think there are certain things about this ball and the technologies that it introduces that are legitimately new and interesting, but there's also a lot of tech that's being marketed in such a way where it seems like it's all new, but it's really just recycled from previous match balls. Either way, if you're curious to learn more about it, that's exactly what we're going to cover in this video. Also, for those of you that are interested in the Nike Flight Ball, I'll leave a little pop-up on screen, or you can click the first link down below. That's going to take you to the review page on my website, where you'll find buy it now links with exclusive SR4U coupon codes, where you'll be able to pick it up below its normal $160 retail price. Also, I know I mostly do videos on football boots, but if you guys would like to see more videos on actual footballs, don't forget to support this one with a like. That lets me know that you want to see more. And if you aren't subscribed to the channel already and don't want to miss out on weekly videos on everything football and football boots, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Now, if you were to picture a football or a soccer ball, we're not going to have that argument in this video, by the way, you would probably picture something round and something at least relatively smooth. We've seen brands, Nike included, play around with texture and grooves in the surface of the ball. The Nike Merlin 2 that this replaces features something called Aerotrack grooves, but with the Nike Flight Ball, they've introduced a technology called Aerosculpt, which you can see the logo right there, and up close, it's very clear to see that those grooves are quite significant in comparison to all past Nike match balls, and that if you saw this without any Nike branding at all, you might not guess that it's a football. To be honest, if I didn't know any better, I would guess that this was some kind of high-tech volleyball, but obviously that's not the case, and that's why it's getting so much attention. It is, from a visual standpoint, not what people expect a football to look like, but you will notice right here, the ball is FIFA approved. This is what's replacing the current Merlin and will be used in professional leagues across the world, which is very, very interesting. Now, to give you a physical example of the logic here, this is the outgoing Nike Merlin match ball, where when you look up close, this is something Nike has been developing over a number of years now. Their match balls consist of a large panel, obviously multiple panels coming together, but within that large panel, you have what they call Aerotrack grooves, which are basically these little grooves sculpted into the surface of the ball. They look like panels, but they're simply there for the sake of breaking up the surface of the ball so it's not completely smooth. Aerodynamically, according to Nike, and this is just their information, I'm no aerodynamics expert, but as a ball flies through the air, when you have a perfectly smooth surface on the ball itself, it allows for the air to more or less grip the surface of the ball more aggressively. And when you're outdoors and there's wind and other variables that can affect the flight of the ball, the more the air grips the ball, the more unpredictable the flight path of the ball is going to be. So what they decided to do is try to make a football that was as predictable and as consistent as possible. And 68 different iterations later, they ended up with the Nike Flight Ball. So even though it sounds counterintuitive, at least to me, when a ball like this is kicked, when flying through the air, you have to imagine that there is a certain amount of friction, along with gravity, of course, that is stopping the momentum of the ball. And the easier the air can pass along all edges of the ball, the faster and further and ideally straighter, or more consistent at the very least, it's going to fly. And according to Nike, through all of their testing, this ball is aerodynamically more efficient than any other football that has ever existed. And if you think about it, it actually makes sense, because if you compare this to the Adidas Jabulani from 2010, yes, there's some very subtle micro-texturing on the surface of the ball, but because of the shape of the panels and the way that they're all put together, that ball is almost perfectly smooth. And according to Nike's logic, where as the ball flies through the air and that air is gripping to the surface, the more air that is clinging to the surface of the ball, the more it's going to slow the ball down and create inconsistencies in terms of its flight path. That is basically an explanation of the knuckleball effect. And this ball is effectively designed to not knuckle, not to knuckle. Knuckle it shall not. So despite the extreme design, the goal of this was more or less to create what I think some people would categorize as a boring football. A lot of people enjoyed the unpredictability of the Jabulani, and this design is basically to combat that effect. This is a no more knuckleball football. Of course, until I've tested it out myself, I can't really confirm or deny whether or not this legitimately feels noticeably more consistent than other footballs that I've used, and that's really going to be the big thing. I don't expect this to be a night and day difference versus any other match ball. If I can notice any difference whatsoever, I think that's going to be a win for Nike in regards to, I guess, the viability of this tech. I'm sure the science that they have totally backs what they've done here. Whether or not it's going to create a noticeable impact on performance, though, that remains to be seen. As for the rest of the ball, it's a lot of the same features as the outgoing Merlin. The material itself, obviously it's a synthetic, kind of a plasticky material, feels a little bit harder to the touch. I find that a lot of Nike balls feel a little bit firmer for the first couple of uses and then soften up a little bit as you wear them in. Nonetheless, it's a very high quality material, nice and durable, as we've experienced with previous Nike match balls, and it doesn't absorb any water, which is obviously very important. The panel shapes themselves, it's a little bit difficult to see given the all-white design, but you basically have that three-sided shape that we had on the previous two generations of Merlin that are all fuse welded together. And with this particular panel shaped design, you end up with 40% less seams than a more traditional football construction, which just basically means that the sweet spot when making contact with the ball is going to be a lot more consistent. Basically, if you kick the ball, no matter what part of the ball you're kicking, it's going to feel the same. You will also notice the giant ACC logo right there. So that's still a feature. It was introduced on Nike's match balls basically 2 years ago. It's still here, although this time around, kind of like the Merlin 2, it's ACC 3D ink. So if you look very, very closely along the raised spots, there are these little lines that provide a very slight amount of texture, a little bit of additional grip, and that is physical ACC, ladies and gentlemen. We don't really see this on the football boots. They just put an ACC logo for the sake of putting it there, seemingly, but on the actual match balls, there is physically something there, and it does provide a little bit of additional grip on the surface of the ball, which should also enhance the grip in slightly wetter conditions as well. But it's one of those elements that ultimately, once you're playing with the ball, you're not going to notice whatsoever. It's just a little extra detail that they've incorporated, which they should incorporate every possible detail if they're going to charge $160. Of course, the ball is FIFA approved. This will be, like I mentioned earlier, the match ball for several professional leagues starting next season. And then just to give you guys a look at the valve, I'm terrible at finding the valve on a ball. There it is. You can see it is not lined up in the middle of the triangle, which is slightly annoying, but very cleanly finished off nonetheless. Pretty much just a valve. And then from a weight perspective, it feels pretty well identical to the outgoing Merlin and really the Nike match balls over the last several seasons, which in my opinion is slightly heavier feeling than both of the Adidas match balls. So there you have it, all the tech behind the Nike Flight Ball. I'm gonna get to testing it out over the next week or two, and I will make a follow-up video for you guys, basically to confirm whether or not this technology is not just effective, but just noticeable at all versus other match balls that are currently available. So stay tuned to the channel for that. Again, if you're interested in one of these balls for yourself, you can click the first link down below. That's going to take you to the review page on my website, where you'll find buy it now links with exclusive SR4U coupon codes, where you'll be able to pick this up below its normal $160 retail price. If you have any questions, as always, feel free to leave them down below in the comment section, and I'll do my best to get an answer out to you. If you guys enjoyed this video, please don't forget to support it with a like. And if you're not subscribed to the channel already, make sure you hit that subscribe button along with the little bell notification so you don't miss out when the next new video goes live. You can find all my social media information linked down below in the description as well. And other than that, guys, thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.